The motivation to create Fuseschool was quite personal. So I think for myself, I recognized, I think, early on, right, that I'd been given opportunity, I guess what people now call privilege. I guess the opportunities I had being born in London, my parents working, hard to put me into a private school, being a white male, all these things provided me an opportunity that I recognized weren't the same as other people. And I think that really hit home the most the first time I went outside of Europe, to India. And I saw poverty at a level where I hadn't seen it before. Saw beggar girls in the street at 5 years old, still smiling and happy, but you recognize that inequality, and that really hits. And I think it hits for a lot of people, I think, when they see that, and it makes you ask the question of, can you do anything to impact that? Can you do anything to change that? And I guess the idea of Fuseschool is, as I therefore had the opportunity when I sold my first company, I had free time and I had to spare cash to think about that question, which initially was, how do you equalize education? How does the posh kid in London choose the same way to learn as the same person, who 10 years ago would never have access to that level of learning? So that's the driver. And I think, again, when you see it come to fruition and you see not that, we haven't got 1 billion people using it, but we still have 10 million people using it. So, even in our scope of the world, that you've figured out it's now starting to have impact, and the concept was worth doing. So when do you feel you succeeded, right? I think when I don't feel guilty. And what I mean by that is, you don't feel a little bit guilty about the opportunity or the privilege that you have, because you do feel it, right? It just felt wrong that so many of us would have this opportunity and others don't. So, you want to try to at least feel that you're having a contribution to make the world more even, more fair. And I feel that, at least now, if I have a night out, or I do something where other people in the world aren't able to do that type of thing, I don't feel the same level of guilt that I did before. So in some ways, it doesn't mean that's the end of the journey, right? But I don't feel that same sense of guilt that maybe I would have felt 15 years ago. What's next, I think, is massively interesting, right? So I think there's two parts to that. One is to iteratively improve on what we have. So how do we make our YouTube channel bigger and wider? And YouTube are now becoming a great partner for us to do that. How do we make more of that content available to other edtech companies, which we do? So there's that drive to get that content out there. We're continuously making more content. So we're creating content on climate change. We're doing a whole curriculum for year 1 maths, year 2 maths. So there's more to say. So, using the same model of great content, all the things we've learned how to do that. And I think then there's the other part that says, well, with the wave of generative AI now coming through, there's a new opportunity, a new opportunity to take that concept of democratization or equalization to another level through a hyper-personalization. So the ability now to, ask the question of, if a kid asks a question who's 10 years old, what's an atom? And to be able to get a different explanation to it to a 16-year-old is amazingly interesting. So I think the ability with now generative AI to add that to the technologies and the content styles that we've got, the ability to really personalize that learning experience for a child to wherever they are in the world and whatever level they're at, to allow them to maximize their potential, now becomes even more possible to achieve that dream of, complete democratized equal education for all.